Well, delighted to get a few minutes with Ayushman, who is a production planning analyst at Amazon. Ayushman, thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Let's start with a quick introduction. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Hi, everyone. I'm Ayushman, and in 2016, I completed my master's in mining engineering from Indian School of Mines, Dhanbad. It's known by the name IIT ISM Dhanbad now. So I was in a 5-year course. It was BTech plus MTech in mining engineering. And during the college days, I got fascinated towards entrepreneurship. And hence, immediately after my college, I started working on my own e-commerce store of handicrafts and artificial jewelry from Jaipur, Rajasthan. So for 3 years, I worked full time on my e-commerce startup and was responsible for end-to-end execution, be it marketing, operations, finance, or procurement specifically. And after a certain point, I realized that the impact of my work was limited to a very small scale. And that's when I decided to pursue my MBA. So in 2019 fall, that's August of 2019, I started my MBA from Arizona State University because like while working in a startup, I wore multiple hats, and the function that I got most resonated with was supply chain. And ASU, Arizona State University, is famous for its supply chain function. So that's how I shortlisted my college. And in 2021 May, I graduated with MBA. My concentrations were in supply chain management and business analytics. And 1 month after the graduation, I got an offer from Amazon as production planning analyst. It's their supply chain analytics team.
Got it. That's awesome. When did you start searching for full-time job opportunities when you came here to the US to pursue your MBA?
Yeah. So I started my MBA in August 2019. So that was the time when I started looking for internship opportunities.
Okay.
So when I came to college, like I took around 1 month to get settled to the new environment in US, to learn the etiquettes and culture here, to learn the resources available.
Yes.
But if given a chance again, I would start on the day one, like the day one when I start the course. Because like when I came here, when I started my course, I realized that there were few students who got the internship interviews in the very first week after coming into the MBA program. And there were some exceptionally talented students who got the internship offer before starting their MBA programs. So that all happened because they were proactive. They like started networking and reaching out to the companies as soon as they got the admit offer from MBA program. So like I started 1 month after joining the MBA, but if given a chance again, I would start from the day one.
Got it. And how did you initially approach your job search?
So the very first thing I focused on, like got in touch with the career coaches, got my resumes and cover letters in shape, because it's like the format used in US is slightly different from what is used in India. And the job search in US is slightly different from how it's approached in India. In US, it's mostly network searched job opportunities. So I got in touch with my career coaches. I got in touch with my seniors and asked for their help, and particularly the Indian seniors, like to have a better perspectives, because they have been through the same journey I'm going through. So that was my first touch points, like the career coaches and seniors, and got my resumes and cover letters in shape.
Got it. Looking back now, would you have changed the approach you took for searching for jobs?
That's a good question. It seems like an interview question. So I would have focused more on networking as compared to just applying through cold calling applications on LinkedIn. So in first year, when I was applying to internships, I applied to more than 200 applications on LinkedIn. And from those 200 applications, I got just one interview invite, and that too also didn't convert to the offer letter. But when I applied to the opportunities via networking, like via reaching out to seniors or via connecting with the HR or attending their info sessions, my conversion rate of getting interview was 10 to 25% as compared to 0.5% in the cold calling job search applications. So if given a chance again, like I would rely more and more on networking rather than just cold calling through LinkedIn applications.
Got it. And you kind of answered the next question that I was about to ask too. what did you do to get the interviews from the companies that you applied for?
Mm,
Because we have always, we have
mm,
definitely applied to multiple roles through different portals, right? Whether it be through LinkedIn or
mm.
even through networking. Were you doing anything in particular to actually get the interviews for the companies that you applied for?
Yeah. So again, that's a great question. Like it was a mystery until and unless I got my first interview. So what I realized, like if you show some sincereness, if you show some proactiveness to the company officials, they
Yeah,
are willing to take a chance on you. And in MBA program, like most of my batchmates were career switchers. Either they were switching to a different industry, or they were switching to a different function, or switching to an entirely different combination. So especially for the career switchers, it's very, very important to have that level of understanding and level of trust by networking to the company officials. So what I used to do when I applied to the companies, I used to search for my ASU alumni in that company, and preferably most recent alumni, because they were more likely to help. Because as like people start climbing the corporate ladder, they get busy and it gets really tough for them to spare some time for the prospective candidates. So I focused on the last 2 years alumni and tried to get in touch with them. I also took help from the career services of ASU to put me in touch with the recent alumni, or to put me in touch with the HR of the company. And at the same time, I was like reaching out on LinkedIn to different people. Like if somebody posted on LinkedIn that we are hiring for this particular company, this particular role, if it aligned with my interest, then I reached out to them personally and set up a 15-minute call. So this setting up a 15-minute call really helps a lot, because to any application, like there will be at least 100 of applicants, and if you're applying to some national companies like Google, Facebook, there will be tens of thousands of applicants for the same role. So in that case, like if you reach out, if you set up a call, then it really makes it easy for you to differentiate yourself from the pool of candidates.
absolutely. Looking back now, would you have done something different to get the interviews from the companies you applied for?
Yeah, so like some of the companies conduct information sessions, or some kind of case competitions.
Okay.
So I like always got intimidated and scared by the case competitions, so I didn't participate in them at all. And though consulting was one of my target function, but still I didn't participate in any of those case competitions, or even like there were some supply chain case competitions. So but what I noticed was the students who participated, just participated, not talking about winning the competition. Those who participated got some extra edge on their applications. Like they were the first ones to get the interview invites from the company, because they already had first good impression in the competition. So if given a chance again, I would be little bit more active in these case competitions, and like have that initial conversation with the company officials.
That's such a great advice. How did you prepare for your interviews that you got?
Hmm. Yeah. So once I got the interview, I first thing I focused on was like what's the role about, because job description is just 10 to 12 lines, and like that's really the very high level summary of what the day today is gonna look like. So I used to connect with the company alumni, or someone from the company who's willing to explain to me like what their day to day look like, because job description doesn't talk about what challenges a particular person is gonna face, or what are the opportunities, or what departments you would be cross functionally collaborating with. So these were some of the things I really tried to learn from the networking calls once I got the interview. And after that, I focused on like how I can showcase those particular skills from my past experience. So for instance, like in supply chain, most probably I'll be negotiating with the suppliers. I'll be cross-functionally collaborating with different teams and organizations. So I look back in my past experiences and focus that which particular instances I do need to highlight to showcase these skills. So that took care of the transferable skills. Next, I focused on the company search, like what the company is presently doing, how it is performing as compared to the other industry partners. And for that, like I focused on few of the research library provided by ASU.
Okay.
And like it's really important to have that basic idea about the company, like how the company is doing and what are the challenges right now, how you can fit in that particular role to help the company propel further towards success.
Amazing. Looking back now, would you
Mhm.
have done something different to prepare for the interviews that you got?
Yeah, after around 1 year into job search, I started having mock interviews with the alumni before giving the final interview,
Okay.
and that helped me a lot. So, if given a chance from the starting of the job search journey, I would have had mock interviews with my seniors or with the company officials, because if someone from the company is taking your interview, mock interview, before the final interview, it really helps a lot. You get to understand what they are looking for, because in 30 to 45 minutes of interview, there is only so much they can check about you. Some companies, for example, consulting companies, like to focus on your approach rather than your final answers, or supply chain companies like to focus on your communication skills. So having those mock interviews really gives you that perspective, that what is it that you need to highlight upon. So if given a chance again, definitely I would leverage more and more mock interviews before the final one.
Got it. Pivoting towards some company specific questions,
Mhm.
how did you come across the specific role of production planning analyst at Amazon?
Yeah. So I was from the day one, I was focusing on supply chain function. That was my first target area that I wanted to pursue my career in. And
Yes.
at the same time, like, since you might have heard that data is going crazy, world is going crazy behind the big data. So I was focusing also on the business analytics parallelly, but that was my second choice. So as I was doing my research, like after the first year when I started looking for full-time opportunities, I realized that like there were few roles in which like I could have got the best of both the worlds, supply chain as well as business analytics. And in this production planning analyst, it's actually about like planning, forecasting the labor planning capacity for a fulfillment center by taking care of all the supply chain levels. So it's basically combination of supply chain and business analytics. So that's how like I figured out like this is aligned with my interest, and also this is something I'm good at. So that's how I got to know about this role.
Got it. Got it. And how did you get the interview for this role?
Mhm. Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, like for getting the interview, it really helps a lot if you can speak to someone in the company, like be it alumni, be it HR. So for this particular role, I was lucky enough that I knew the contact of the HR, because one of my batchmates already got the job offer for this particular role.
Got
So
it.
she shared the contact of HR. She introduced me to the HR via email. I set up a 15-minute call with the HR, expressed my interest, and like shared my resume. So he assured me that I would get the interview, just apply to the process. And within a week of applying, I got the interview.
Amazing. And what was the interview process like?
Hmm. So for most of the Amazon interviews, it will be a 4 round process. The first round is generally the scrutinizing round. Like if you do good, if you showcase the Amazon's leadership principles in your past experience, then they move you to the next round. And then there are 3 rounds again. Like each interviewer will ask you 2 or 3 stories, 2 or 3 behavioral questions.
Mhm.
And in those behavioral questions, they try to see like how closely you are aligned with the Amazon leadership principles. So when I interviewed 2 months ago, there were 14 leadership principles, but now there are 16 leadership principles. And to anyone preparing for Amazon particularly, I would suggest to have as many mock interviews with the Amazon current employees as possible, because like if I'm preparing for myself, then I would definitely like my story. I would definitely think like I am doing my best and there is nothing better possible. But that's when like interviewers perception come into action. They might perceive it differently, and that's why we need someone else to validate our stories. And the more mock interviews you have, the better your stories will become, the more refined it will be.
Absolutely. How long after your last interview round did you get the offer?
Hmm. So Amazon is pretty quick in like delivering the results. They promise five business days
Okay.
guarantee to give the results. So I think I got the result after 3 days of my interview. Like I had first round on Friday, then second, third, fourth, all back-to-back interviews on Wednesday, and got the result on next Tuesday. So like within 2 weeks, I was done with all process and got the offer letter.
Got it. Any last piece of advice for any international student seeking a full-time opportunity in the US?
Yeah, like to all the international students like who are trying to get a job in US or in any other country, it's a challenging process, no doubts about it. And the good thing is that like every year, tens of thousands of international candidates are going through this process, and majority of them, to be more precise, more than 90% of them are succeeding with their target of finding a full-time job. So it's doable, it's manageable. Just keep yourself refreshed and like energized throughout the process, because like everyone might say that resilience has you have to show resilience, you have to be consistent with the application, selection has to happen only once,
Yes.
don't focus on the number of rejections but how to have that resilience. So for that I would suggest keep yourself refreshed, do whatever works for you to keep yourself focused. In my case, I used to spend time talking to my family friends, and used to go out to restaurants on the weekends just to, so that like on the Monday when I'm back to job search, to the challenging job search, I'm focused and I'm like actually ready to do it. So that's very important. Like I realized even now, like if I tell my some of my friends in the process, I tell them like, what do you do to keep yourself refreshed? At least on the weekends, at least take some hours to re-energize yourself.
That's a great advice.
Mhm.
Ayushman, thank you for your time. Really appreciate all the insights that you shared.